Hey guys, DVDJ Paul G here with DJ-Ology again. Last video I made showed you guys how to use the video logos in Virtual DJ. A lot of people ask me how do you make those logos, so I'm going to show you the whole process, and I'll provide a link to the actual project file, so you only have to do a little bit of the work yourself, not so much. You will need a copy of CS 6.5, the Adobe Suite, at least Photoshop 6.5, or later in order to do this. So let's get started. What we're looking at right now is my cell phone, and I'm going to select the Bitmoji app, which is an app that's tied to Snapchat that gives you these little cartoon versions of yourself. My phone is slow, give it a second. Alright, so here you see a bunch of them. They also have a bunch of categories you can go through, or you can search. Let's just do a quick search for music. You can see a couple of them that they have there. Scroll up here. Yeah, a couple for music. But I'm going to do one for Halloween because I need one of these logos for myself for Halloween. So, two birds, one stone. I'm going to select this little pumpkin looking dude, and I'm going to send it to myself over Messenger. You just type your name into the search. I've already done it to myself before, so you just send it to me just so real quick so you can see. If you type your own name into the search, send yourself any file you want within the limits that Facebook allows. In order to get on your PC, you're just going to right-click, save the image as. It'll download to whatever your download file is, folder is. I'm going to name this one Halloween Bitmoji. I'm going to go into Explorer, and I'm just going to cut and paste this over to the actual project folder. Okay, now you see there's two files here, coincide front and back. Let's open the coincide front. You see we've got the circle here ready to go. Open coincide back, and you'll see it's the same exact file. The reason for this is it has to be an exact match, otherwise it lines up funny when you go into the 3D. We got two layers, the border circle and the background. Both of these can be changed with the blending options, color overlay. I have them set to white right now, but you can change it to any color you want. Red, you know, the whole Roy G. Biv spectrum that's on here. I'm going to go with orange because, you know, it's Halloween. So let's use an orange one. Okay. One of the things I forgot to do was make the Bitmoji a transparent ping, so we're going to do that real quick. You can see that the image is very small. Let's look at the image size here. You can see it's 280 by 281. We're going to make it 1080. Just leave it locked. Okay. Zoom out a bit. Now you see it's a little bit blurry, so I am going to sharpen it just a bit. I like to use the Smart Sharpen tool because it lets me preview as I'm going. Let's move it over to basic real quick. That's a bit too sharp. This doesn't need to be perfect because it will show up as a smaller image, and it, you know, it's just part of a whole that you're putting together. If you click the preview thing, it won't show you what you've changed, and then turn it back on. You can see what you changed on your main image. Okay, that's perfect. And we use the Magic Eraser tool. You'll see I have the tolerance set to 50. That's just so that it doesn't go into any color that's pretty close to the white there. Okay, save. And close. Now we're going to import that file over here into the front. And just resize and drag it and organize real quick. Nice. You can bring a pre-made logo in if you have one. You know, resize it, drag and drop it. I'm not going to use that this time because it's Halloween and I'm going to use the text one to make it look, you know, just a different font. Let's see, DJ Paul G. I'm not a big fan of that font, so I'm going to change it. I'm going to need a typography to select it. Alright, I'm going to change the size, move it over, yeah, put it there for now because I'm going to probably change all this in a minute. Font. I'm going to speed through this part because Yeah, there we go. That's a good one. Resize. And now I'm just going to get this as organized in a manner that makes sense to me and looks good. Now, a lot of what you're going to see right here is just some basic Photoshop stuff. You know, changing the color of the text and warping it and bevel and emboss. The arc, I'm going to slow it down for a minute. It's very important that when you make this, you keep everything within inside that border circle, because when you convert it to 3D, it will not be a perfect circle if you're even just a little bit out of that range. So say the drip that's coming off the V or the any of the letters is outside of that circle, it's going to make the 3D rendering very odd. So make sure you keep it all inside the border circle. You can overlap onto it, but just don't go outside of it. Next, I'm going to show you that these are all in a group, and we're going to want to duplicate the group. This is so that afterwards, if you want to make any changes, you still can inside of that group. Because what we're going to do now is rename this coin front. Now we're going to merge this group down into one layer. This is going to be the one we use for 3D conversion later. But if we need to make any alterations, we still could at another time. Within this group, we're going to right-click on the border and copy the layer style, then go to the back side of the coin, border circle, and paste layer style. That way the colors are an exact match. You don't have to do this if you want different sided ones. You could drag and drop the logo over. Just going to do simple on the back side here. Stretch it. Okay, place. Now, you're going to want to leave the background and the outer line alone because you can see they're not exactly perfect on the sides there. So pop that up top. But anything you put inside of that border and above that background, didn't use that layer, you're going to want to flip it horizontally. Hit transform, flip horizontal. It has to be backwards for this to work properly, otherwise it'll show up the opposite way when you do it. Now we're going to save that. Go to our border circle here, and we are going to close that. 3D, new extrusion from selected layer. Select the right layer first. 3D extrusion from a selected layer. Okay, give the computer a second to do it. We're now working the 3D space, and you can see that this is quite thick. So we're going to select coin side front, and we're going to change it to 40 because I like it a little bit narrow. Okay, and now create a video timeline. You need to go down to, make sure you're always on that coin side front. Don't do this in the camera view. You need to go down to the meshes, 3D mesh. And click the timer, and that'll start that. Put one there, and we will put one at the end so that it's an exact match. About halfway. We're going to want to look at the back side. Try to make sure that everything, you don't tilt it like that. You can do that by watching the upper window if you want. Right there. See, it's a little off, but this will do just fine. Now you can see it's backwards, and this is the reason we flipped the text on the one we're going to substitute for the backside, because if we didn't, it would appear backwards like this. Make sure we spin it properly. Right there. Still, I don't like that tilt, so we're just going to rotate it back up a little bit. Yeah. Good. Test. Yeah. Rolling nicely. Okay, so now, in order to change that, we're going to go to the back inflation material, go up to diffuse, and you're going to replace the texture with that coin side back. There we go. So now you have the front and the back of the coin, and we're just going to rotate it through. That works beautifully. Oh, that one didn't take for some reason, so it doesn't really matter. What I was going to show you is that it doesn't rotate perfectly that way. When you do that, it starts to rotate backwards at the halfway point. So what you have to do is go about 3/4 of the way over the entire file and make sure that it's spinning in the proper direction. I'm on that camera view again, current view I mean. You got to click the coin side front group and make sure you're always on that when you're editing these meshes. Spin it there just to create the thing. Yeah, now we want to go the other way. I try not to rotate it. And since we're 3/4, we're going to want to see the side of the coin. Play, yeah, working good. Working good. Alright. So you just hit the space bar to do this, and you can get a little playback to see what you got. 10 seconds is a bit of a long timeline for this. It's a very slow roll. You can leave it this way when you render it if you want to. I like mine to go a little bit faster. So I will shorten that in a hot minute here by sliding the points around, just to show you how to do that too. Let's go. Yeah, let's bring it over so every second. So it'll be about 5 seconds long. One. Slide that over. Good enough. You want to keep these pretty evenly spaced, otherwise it will spin at an uneven speed. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Move this over so I can make sure I'm on 3. 3. And the final one will do 4. Good, and slide this over. Now the area that's highlighted in purple is considered your workspace, so we're just going to shrink that down by hitting this dial here and get it right onto this last frame. This one, it doesn't matter if you change or not, because we're going to set it to render to the workspace. So we're going to go to the drop-down menu here and click Render Video, which is third from the bottom, and it'll initialize. Okay, so here are the render settings. The name of the file is going to be coinfront.mov. The folder I have selected is my normal render folder. You want to use the Adobe Media Encoder. I should probably... There we go. The alpha channel you want to set to straight unmatted. It's just it's the only one I've ever used, and it works perfectly, so I don't see the reason to use anything else. Make sure you set to the QuickTime, animation high quality. Leave the document size alone. Document frame rate. I typically use 24 because it's right between 23 and 25, but since this is for the internet, we'll use 23,976 because that's pretty much the standard for the internet. It says preset to progressive, but make sure it's on progressive so that you don't deal with any frame blending, and make sure that you've clicked work area there so that it just renders out that purple section. And render. Now it's going to put the rendered video file into whatever folder you have selected in your render settings. And that's it. You're pretty much done now. Render folder. There's the file. If you double click it, you can play it. This is VLC. My VLC, for some reason, does not like alpha channel files to play in it. It makes them look stuttery. I promise you it's not stuttering at all. I'm just going to close this window and open Virtual. I don't know how to do it with the other softwares. This is how you can get that logo up there. You just type logo and then change the location so that you can, let's just go right to the render folder and put the one we just made in coincide front. Open. Oh, I got to turn it on. Yes. So there you can see it's working in Virtual. Again, I don't know how to do it in the other softwares, but if you need to use a sampler, you can. I'll show you how to render that out real quick too, just in case you need to use a sampler for it. So I'm still using Sony Vegas 13 because I've seen no need to upgrade. We're just going to drag that file we rendered in Photoshop over to here. Delete the audio file, even though it's going to get put back anyway, and it's empty. Right click on the file and go to Properties. Turn off the resample because if you change the speed at all, it'll frame blend and it'll look like crap. Set your alpha channel to pre-multiplied. Okay. So now we still got the regular square thing. We're going to have to go up to the properties of the project and change it to 1920 by 1080 so we have a full screen version of something. I don't know why it's double field, so we're going to turn it back to progressive. Apply. Okay. So it's kind of big, so we're gonna half it. Let's just go 540 to see what it looks like. That's still a bit big, so we'll have 540 to 270. That's about the right size. And just in the keyframe section, slide it over into the corner. Yeah, she looks. Alright, so it loops. It's a little close to the side of the screen. So let's just change that. You got to be especially careful because some clubs have their television set up so that they're on overscan and it'll cut the edges of your video off. So you can change the speed of it here, slow it down a bit. Got to move the loop over so you can see the whole thing. But we're going to leave ours at 4 seconds. Still a little close to that edge, so I'm going to move it back over a bit. Looks just about right. There we go. Now we're going to render it out. Render as QuickTime MOV, type coin logo underscore corner underscore sampler version. Make sure you use that HAP codec. It is, to my knowledge, the one that requires the least processor amount. I mean, you got plenty of options, but the HAP codec is by far the best one out there right now, to my knowledge. Just going to render that. Close. I'm just going to undo things real quick and get back here. Okay, change this back to 1080. So I'm going to show you how to render it out for a full screen logo. Bring that down just a little bit to make it good. Yeah. So we're just going to do essentially the same thing with a full screen version. File, render as. It's already set to HAP, so corner. Just change it from corner to full screen so you can tell the two apart. And they have similar names, so save, render. So now you have both the corner and a full screen version. Close. I'm sure you can do this in Premiere or whatever editing software you're using. It's just this is how I do it. Drag and drop them into virtual. Again, I don't know how to do it in the other softwares, but you'll see it works fine here in virtual. There's the full screen. There's the corner. So that's how you make the coin flip logo, and hope that was informative. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. If you have any other questions for us, be sure to leave them. We'll get to them as quickly as we can.